Well, today we arrive at the final chapter of the book of Esther. What an exciting adventure this study has been. And as the series title implies, for such a time as this, we have witnessed God's divine intervention throughout the drama of the narrative. Through his intervention, God has proven himself to be providential, ordering all things according to his perfect plan, always. Now, as we look at Esther chapter 9, verses 1 through 4 together today, we're going to be considering the topic with confidence. Now, join me as we read together. The king's command and law went into effect on the 13th day of the 12th month, the month Adar. On the day when the Jews' enemies had hoped to overpower them, just the opposite happened. The Jews overpowered those who hated them. In each of King Ahasuerus' provinces, the Jews assembled in their cities to attack those who intended to harm them. Not a single person could withstand them. Terror of them fell on every nationality. All the officials of the provinces, the satraps, the governors, and the royal civil administrators aided the Jews because they were afraid of Mordecai. For Mordecai exercised great power in the palace, and his fame spread throughout the provinces as he became more and more powerful. Now, imagine with me for a moment. You are going into some sort of a challenge, whatever it may be. You know your opponent well. You know that your team is much better equipped for the challenge at hand. You know you are so much better prepared. In fact, you are 100% certain of the victory. You know you're going to come out on top. Well, you go into that challenge with that confidence level, and because of that, you are unstoppable. And you know, that's how the Jewish people must have felt as the 13th day of the 12th month was rapidly approaching. Their day of victory over those who hated and despised them would arrive soon. And as we move into Esther chapter 9, we begin to find that it best describes the rest of the story. Here we find the final reversal, the final triumph, and the final outcome of the central conflict. But it is more important to recognize that before the author spelled out all the details of the two-day battle in verses 5 through 19, he offered us a summarized version of the significance of these events and the complete dominance of God's people. By his use of repetition and what is often referred to as absolute language, the author further communicated the sovereignty of God working behind the scenes, even though he's not named within the text. Notice the redundant nature of his report. Verses 1 through 3 tell us that now the tables were being turned, or the Jews' enemies who had hoped to overpower them found that just the opposite happened. The Jews overpowered those who hated them. The Jews assembled, they attacked. Not a single person could withstand them. Terror fell on every nationality, and all the officials aided the Jews. As God's people gathered and prepared to fight, they were now able to face this conflict with utter confidence. They now placed their truth and their trust in God's strength, knowing that through him, they would prevail. Now, to the original audience reading this account, they would have been able to find a similar courage to face their own foes. They would be able to recognize that God's hand was upon them just as it had been upon their ancestors there in the book of Esther. And let me assure you of something today. Our God remains just as powerful today as he ever was. Jesus destroyed death once and for all at the cross and through his resurrection. His church has continued to endure through the centuries. He has promised eternal life to all who believes. So it leaves us with the confidence that declares, what shall we fear? For God has put all enemies under his feet, as Paul so beautifully shares with us in 1 Corinthians 15:25. Perhaps God is calling you today to step out in life with his courage, his confidence. Don't be afraid, but rather be bold as you learn to trust in your all-powerful God who loves you and who cares about you personally. Until next time.